There are moments in life when doubt becomes louder than your dreams. When every step forward feels like walking through resistance. But remember this, confidence isn't the absence of fear. It's the courage to move despite it. The moment you decide to trust yourself completely, life begins to open doors you never even knew existed. There's something powerful that happens when you stop waiting for the perfect moment to begin and instead take the first imperfect step. Most people stand still, waiting for confidence to magically appear before they move. They tell themselves, once I feel ready, then I'll start. But the truth is that feeling never comes. Confidence doesn't visit you out of nowhere. It's created through movement, through experience, through the simple act of doing. You see, every time you take action, no matter how small, you send a message to your mind that says, I am capable. That message begins to rewrite the old story you've been telling yourself. Maybe the story of not being enough, not being skilled enough, not being strong enough. Action is the pen that rewrites that story. It doesn't matter where you begin. What matters is that you begin. When you act, you challenge your fears. You realize that the monster you imagined in your mind isn't as terrifying when you face it directly. The moment you step into discomfort, you discover something extraordinary. That fear fades when confronted by movement. The longer you wait, the stronger fear grows. But the moment you act, the power shifts back to you. That's why confidence is never born in the comfort zone. It's built in the moments when you feel uncertain, but still choose to move forward. Think of a child learning to walk. They don't wait to feel confident before they take their first step. They simply try. They stumble, they fall, and they rise again. Every attempt teaches balance. Every fall builds strength, and every success brings a little more confidence. That's the same process for you. Even as an adult, confidence grows not from what you think you can do, but from what you prove to yourself through action. Most people confuse confidence with certainty. They think confident people are those who know exactly what they're doing all the time. But that's not true. The most confident individuals are often those who are most willing to step into the unknown. They trust not that they'll always succeed, but that they'll always learn. And that trust in one's own ability to adapt, to adjust, to rise again, that is the essence of unstoppable confidence. There will be days when your effort doesn't seem to produce results. You'll work hard and still not see the progress you expect. In those moments, your mind will tempt you to stop. It will say, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I should wait until I feel more ready. But that's exactly when you must remember, readiness is not a feeling, it's a decision. The ones who grow are those who move, even when they feel unprepared, who show up even when doubt whispers the loudest. It's easy to underestimate the small steps. We often think success is built on massive breakthroughs, on grand gestures. But confidence doesn't grow from those rare moments. It grows in the daily grind, in every repetition, every disciplined choice, every time you push past the voice that says, not today. When you wake up early, when you train even though you're tired, when you choose progress over comfort. That's where confidence begins to solidify, because each of those small victories whispers a powerful truth. I can trust myself. And when you trust yourself, everything changes. You stop seeking validation from others because your actions become your evidence. You no longer need to be told that you're capable. You know it because you've lived it. Every challenge you've faced, every setback you've overcome becomes a reminder that you've built your strength not through comfort, but through effort. That realization becomes your armor. Confidence built through action is unshakable because it's earned. It's not a borrowed belief that fades when things get tough. It's a deep internal knowing that no matter what happens, you'll find a way. And that's what separates those who dream from those who achieve. When you hesitate, remember that hesitation feeds doubt, but movement feeds courage. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Create it through motion. You don't have to be perfect to begin. You simply need to begin to become better. The courage to start creates momentum, and momentum builds confidence. And soon, you'll notice something remarkable. What once terrified you now excites you. What once seemed impossible becomes your new normal. You won't realize how much you've grown until you look back one day and see the distance between who you were and who you've become. And all of that will have begun with a single decision to act despite fear, to take one small, deliberate step toward the life you deserve. So, stop waiting for confidence to arrive. Don't wait for the fear to disappear. Instead, use your fear as a signal that you are moving in the right direction. Let your actions become the teacher that confidence learns from. Because once you start moving, once you take that first step, you'll realize something powerful. You were never waiting for confidence. Confidence was waiting for you. Inside each one of us, there exists a voice, quiet at first, but persistent. It questions your worth, your ability, your direction. It whispers, "You're not ready. You're not enough. You'll fail." And what's strange is that voice often sounds like your own. It hides behind logic and caution, pretending to protect you from pain. But in truth, it keeps you from growth. The first battle of confidence isn't fought against the world. It's fought within your own mind. That inner critic is clever. It knows your weaknesses, your insecurities, your doubts. It speaks in the language of limitation, always reminding you of what could go wrong. But here's what few people realize: that voice will never disappear. You can't silence it completely, and you don't need to. What you must learn is to recognize it and refuse to be controlled by it. The voice of doubt will always exist, but confidence grows when you choose to act regardless of its presence. You see, the mind has two dialogues, one that encourages, empowers, and uplifts, and another that diminishes, discourages, and destroys. The second one is loudest when you're on the edge of something important, when you're about to step into discomfort, when you're about to take a risk. That voice grows strong because it senses change. And change threatens the comfort of your old identity. The moment you decide to expand, the inner critic tries to pull you back into what is safe, familiar, predictable. But confidence doesn't live in comfort. Confidence is born in defiance of that voice. It's the calm but firm decision to say, "I hear you, but I will move anyway." When you start mastering that ability, to act even when your mind screams stop, you begin to separate who you truly are from the voice that limits you. You are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. The problem is, most people never question the voice. They accept it as truth. They believe every word it says, that they're too old, too young, too late, too unqualified. But that voice doesn't predict your future. It reflects your past. It's made of old experiences, old fears, old failures. It doesn't know who you are becoming, only who you've been. And when you understand that, you stop arguing with it. You stop giving it power. Confidence begins when you replace the question, "What if I fail?" with "What if I never try?" Imagine living the rest of your life haunted not by mistakes, but by missed chances. Failure hurts, yes, but regret destroys silently. And that's what the inner critic feeds on. Your hesitation, your self-doubt, your tendency to wait for perfect certainty before taking the first step. But perfection never comes. The confident ones are not fearless. They've just learned to stop letting fear make their decisions. Every time you challenge that inner voice, you weaken its grip when it says you can't, and you still do. Even in small ways, something shifts inside you. You start proving to yourself that you are not fragile. You start trusting your own resilience. And that's how confidence expands, not by eliminating fear, but by proving again and again that you can move through it. There will always be moments when the critic grows louder, moments of failure, rejection, or uncertainty. In those times, remember, the voice of doubt loves silence. It thrives when you stop moving, when you isolate yourself, when you replay mistakes. But the moment you take a single step forward, call someone, train, practice, write, create, you break its rhythm. Movement is how you reclaim your power. And here's something powerful to understand. That inner critic is not your enemy, it's a signal. It shows up when something meaningful is on the line. It means you care. It means you're stepping outside of what's easy. Instead of fighting it, learn to interpret it. When you feel it rise, say to yourself, "I'm growing." Because the stronger the voice of doubt, the closer you are to something that matters. When you stop identifying with that voice, confidence starts to take root. You begin to see that you are far more than your thoughts, that the mind is only a tool. And like any tool, it can be sharpened, trained, and guided. Through meditation, awareness, and discipline, you learn to observe thoughts without believing all of them. When you create that space between your awareness and your thoughts, the critic loses its power. Confidence is the art of mastering that inner dialogue. It's about replacing the endless what ifs with why nots. It's realizing that you don't need to feel ready to be worthy of trying. The moment you take control of that voice, the outside world stops intimidating you, because no critic in the world can hurt you more than the one you've already silenced within. Every great journey begins with one decision. The decision to believe in yourself more than in your fear. That belief doesn't come from external praise or validation. It comes from deep within, from the understanding that you are capable of more than your doubts suggest. Once you internalize that truth, you stop seeking permission. You stop waiting for someone to say, "You're enough." You realize you always were. So when that voice of doubt returns, as it always will, smile at it, acknowledge it, but don't obey it. Let it speak, but let your actions answer louder. Because confidence isn't built by erasing fear. It's built by walking beside it, until it can no longer keep up. There is a constant conversation happening inside your mind, a dialogue that no one else can hear, yet it shapes every decision, every move, every dream you chase or abandon. One voice tells you to move, to take the leap, to trust yourself. The other voice whispers reasons to stay still, to play it safe, to doubt what you are capable of. And what makes it so difficult is that the second voice often sounds more convincing, more logical, more familiar. It says things like, "You might fail. People will judge you. You're not good enough yet." That voice is what keeps millions of people standing on the edge of their potential, but never diving into it. You cannot silence that voice completely. It is part of being human. But you can learn to stop feeding it. You can learn to separate who you truly are from what that voice tries to make you believe. The problem is, most people live their entire lives listening to that inner critic as if it were truth. They take its words as reality, not realizing that it is just the echo of their past fears, disappointments, and experiences. It is not a reflection of their future. It is only a shadow of their history. And the longer you let that shadow define you, the smaller your light becomes. The key to unstoppable confidence is awareness. The awareness that you are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. The mind will always generate stories, excuses, fears, but you get to decide which story you give energy to. You can either listen to the one that says, "You can't," or you can listen to the one that whispers, "What if you can?" That single shift in focus can change the entire direction of your life. Think about the moments when you wanted to do something new, start a project, speak up, take a risk. Before you even began, the mind probably started listing all the reasons it might not work. What if I fail? What will people think? I don't have enough experience. Notice something. The mind doesn't predict success. It predicts danger. It's trying to protect you from uncertainty. But growth only happens in uncertainty. You cannot expand while hiding from the unknown. The voice of the critic wants safety, not success. And if you listen to it long enough, it will convince you that safety is enough. But deep down, you know it isn't. Confidence doesn't come from silencing fear. It comes from acting while fear is present. Every time you take a step forward, despite the noise inside your head, that voice weakens. Every time you choose action over hesitation, you prove to yourself that you don't need to feel ready to begin. You simply need to begin. And each small victory, each small moment where you didn't give in to the critic becomes a seed of self-belief. Over time, those seeds grow into an unshakable trust in yourself. Many people think confidence comes from achievements, from external validation or success. But the truth is, it begins in the moments when no one is watching. When you confront your doubts privately and say, "I'll do it anyway." When you feel fear in your chest, but still take one more step forward. Confidence is not loud, it is quiet, grounded, and steady. It is the inner knowing that no matter what happens, you will not collapse. You may fall, you may stumble, but you will rise again. There will always be setbacks, times when the critic grows louder, when failure seems to confirm its words. But that is where real strength is built, in how you respond. Do you accept defeat as truth, or do you treat it as feedback? The confident person doesn't ignore mistakes, they learn from them. They understand that every failure contains a lesson, and every lesson adds another layer of wisdom. The critic says, "You failed." Confidence answers, "I learned." That is the shift that transforms insecurity into inner power. And as you grow, you begin to notice something profound. The more you challenge that inner critic, the quieter it becomes. The more you act despite fear, the more your faith in yourself expands. You stop asking for permission from others, from the world, from your own mind. You no longer need validation because your actions become your proof. You begin to live from a place of inner stability, not external approval. But it takes practice, daily, deliberate practice. You have to catch your thoughts in the moment they appear. When you hear that voice saying, "You can't," pause. Ask yourself, who is speaking? Is it your true self or your fear? Once you see the difference, the illusion breaks. That awareness creates space, and in that space, you regain control. You can choose not to obey the critic. You can choose courage instead of comfort. There's a powerful freedom that comes when you realize the inner critic can only control you if you let it define you. The moment you start seeing it for what it truly is, just noise, its grip loosens, and then something beautiful happens. Another voice emerges. It's quieter but stronger. It says, "You've got this. Keep going. You're capable." That voice was always there, buried beneath layers of doubt, waiting for you to listen. That's your true self speaking, the one that believes in your potential even when you can't see it yet. You were not born with self-doubt. You learned it, which means you can also unlearn it. And you do that not through thinking differently, but through acting differently. Each time you challenge fear, each time you choose movement over hesitation, you teach your mind a new truth, that you are stronger than it believes. Slowly, the inner critic transforms from an enemy into a teacher, one that shows you exactly where your growth lies. So when that voice rises again, and it will, don't run from it. Smile at it, acknowledge it, but don't surrender to it. Let it speak, but let your actions speak louder. Because confidence doesn't mean never hearing the voice of doubt. It means hearing it and still moving forward. So the next time you look in the mirror and doubt starts to whisper, remember who you are. You are not defined by your fears, but by how you face them. Confidence is not a gift, it's a discipline, built one decision, one moment, one breath at a time. Keep walking, keep learning, keep believing, because once your confidence becomes unstoppable, success has no choice but to follow.